All right, so we are back and we are rounding out week 11, which means we have one more week in phase one. So let's go ahead and jump on the scales for the second to last time. And then we got our leaderboard.
Timmy 245.2.
Chandra 224.6.
Megan Trombley 222.0.
Allison 194.2.
Joe Langley at 264.
Kia Uribe 274.4.
188.
Shelly 209.9.
Kimberly Gaston 226.4.
Dan Martin 219.8.
So I have the leaderboard. And next week is the final leaderboard. Next week we are going to announce a winner. Can you believe, I don't know. I can't believe it. Maybe you can believe it, maybe, but it's like lickety split. It has flown by. And so, all right, in 12th place, down 24.6 pounds, 8.52%, Jill. In 11th place, down 22.6 pounds, 10.28%, Sheila. In 10th place, down 26.2 pounds, 10.37%, Kimberly G. In 9th place, down 34.6 pounds, 12.37%, Tammy. In 8th place, down 30.1 pounds, 12.54%, Shelly. In 7th place, down 41 pounds, 13.02%, Kia. In 6th place, down 29.8 pounds, 13.68%, Kimberly V. In 5th place, down 27.6 pounds, 13.96%, Tawana. In 4th place, down 37.5 pounds, 14.3%, Chandra. In 3rd place, down 34 pounds, 14.87%, Allison. And really, I'm going to tell you top 5, the top maybe 6, top 5 or 6, like next week, I don't know. We're going to see who really because you guys are all within like 2% of each other. And so in 2nd place, down 38.8 pounds, 15%, Dan. That means taking over the 1st place spot, down 40.8 pounds, 15.52%, Megan. You'll have to tell your whole family. It paid off being good all because I know they were supporting you over the holiday. And so look at that. Look at that. Miss Steady Eddie took over the
That was
first
our
week.
birthday goal. That was my birthday goal. So they'll be very happy they helped me.
Yeah, because your birthday was just like in this last week. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And
Black
so
Friday.
you and Dan are neck and neck. Allison's like 0.7% behind the leader, 0.13% behind Dan. Chandra's a percent down. I mean, it is the top of it. I mean, you guys are I was looking at this today and I'm like, man, how is this going to shake out next week? Who's going, anyway. So amazing job. Last week you lost 28.9 pounds, a total so far of 387 pounds in the past 11 weeks. Our final week. And so a couple of things I want to chat with you guys about tonight. Okay. So first and foremost is finishing strong. It is always easier to start strong than it is to finish strong, because starting strong is like, we can start strong off of just sheer excitement. But if you notice that somehow, some way, like excitement never lasts. Have you guys noticed that? Like excitement always fades. When you first got in the program, there was like these nerves and this excitement, and like you were looking forward to the first call and you were like, what did I get myself into? But I can't wait to see what this brings. And then over time, that initial excitement naturally fades. And it's the same thing with everything. It's when you get a brand new car. When you, even when if it's new to you or it's brand new, it's exciting, right? Like, I just got this new car, or you get a new shirt, or you get a new house, or you get a new man, or a new husband, or a new whatever. I mean, I don't mean new husband like you replaced the old husband. That's not what I meant. What I meant was like you got married. So like when I first got married, or when I first started dating, when he was my boyfriend, it was like, oh, like there was all this excitement. There were the butterflies. Or when you first get married and you're moving in together, there's always excitement when things are new, always. And so over time, the excitement starts to wear off, doesn't it? After you've had that new car for 6 months, are you still as excited about it as you were? Mm-mm. After you have had your house or your new apartment, I remember my apartment, it was a tiny little apartment above a pharmacy. Like it was above a pharmacy in the little town that I grew up in. Nothing special, but I was so excited for that first apartment, like so freaking excited. The first hotel that I ever stayed in by myself was a Knights Inn. I don't know if any of y'all know what a Knights Inn is, but it was $24.99, no credit card needed. Today, I wouldn't even let my kids sit on the floor, lay on the, if we walked into that hotel room, I'd be like, don't touch anything. Like, that's how I would respond. Do not. There's probably pee and semen and all kinds of stuff everywhere. Don't touch. However, I was so excited. The first time I walked into that Knights Inn. And so my point is, like, my first hotel I ever paid for by myself, even though it was probably disgusting, and thank goodness I didn't have a black light, like I was excited about it. And so excitement comes natural in the beginning when everything's new. And so, we naturally lose excitement over time. That is naturally what happens. And so what most people allow themselves to do is they allow their commitment to follow their excitement. They allow their commitment to follow their excitement. And this is why over 50% of marriages end in divorce, because they're no longer excited in their marriage. So their commitment follows their excitement. This is why we don't stay committed to keeping our car clean. Think about it. When your car was first new, like it was so clean. And not very many people keep their car clean after it's new. This is why most of us have been on multiple weight loss deals, because our commitment follows our excitement. And so we're committed as long as we're excited. And then as soon as we're not excited about it anymore, we quit. And then we eventually go find something that we're excited about and we're committed again. Same thing with our jobs. It's really hilarious. If you look at 20 years ago, the average person stayed on a job a very long period of time. They started and most of the time retired with the company they were in. Today, I haven't even looked it up in the past year, but the average person does not stay on a job very long. They're always job hopping because they're chasing excitement. They're chasing the newness. And excitement only happens naturally in the very beginning. Because in the beginning, we don't always focus on what sucks. And by the way, inside of everything, there's always going to be something that sucks because there's work. There's work involved. And when the excitement fades, what's left? The work. The work is what's left. And so if you want to succeed long-term at this health battle, at this weight loss thing that we've all been battling for far too long, if you really want this to be like, that is it. You turn to page this is like that moment in time where you really made the switch. Then you've got to become a manufacturer of excitement. You've got to become somebody like, look, think about a manufacturer. A manufacturer makes things. Like a manufacturer of brake pads, they make brake pads. A manufacturer of bread makes bread. And so you've got to become in your own life somebody who can create excitement out of thin air. Someone who can choose to be excited whenever they choose to, not somebody who's sitting there waiting on excitement and motivation to come, because most people think motivation and excitement comes before the results or before the commitment. I'll be committed once I get motivated. No, motivation actually follows commitment, not the other way around. There's no like motivation bug that's going to come. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation and excitement are cousins. And most people really believe like they're waiting to get motivated to work out. They're waiting to get motivated to go back to school. They're waiting to get motivated to write the book. They're waiting to get motivated to start the business. Even if you have and motivation comes from being inspired, but if there's not commitment that follows it, it's gone. But motivation always follows commitment. The more committed you are, the more motivated you are. And so if you want to be motivated, you got to be committed. So like finishing this last week, it's like, okay, no, I'm going to finish strong. It's going back and looking at your contract and seeing the areas that you haven't been 100% committed on. For some of you, you can go ahead and circle and star and underline and highlight the homework. Yep, haven't been committed to that. I basically said, F you, Carmen, I don't care what you said. I'm doing what I want. That's the truth. And whenever you, and I heard this about 6 years ago, I think. And it was like someone slapped me. You ever have someone say something and it's like they slapped you in the face? Like a verbal slappage. I had said that I didn't have time to get something done. I got busy and I just didn't have time to get something done. And that coach at the time, she said, actually, Carmen, what the truth is it wasn't a priority for you to get it done. Sure. I said, well, you're right. It was not a priority. I did not make it a priority. So when we don't get our water in, it's not that we spaced on our water. It's that getting the water in wasn't I did not make it a
Priority.
Yeah. When we don't get our homework in on time, it's because it wasn't a
Priority.
priority. What if there was a $500 fee for every minute you were late with your homework?
We'd make sure we get it on time, early.
I attended on Thursday.
Get it done.
Why? Because your bank account's a priority. So whatever we prioritize is what gets done. Whatever we prioritize is what gets done. Eating all our containers, if we're missing containers, and I'm not talking about if you're sick or there's something wonky going on, that's an exception, not a rule. If we're missing containers, it's because it wasn't a priority plan to get them in.
Right.
If we don't check in at night, it's because we didn't make it a priority to check in. You see what I'm saying? And I gotta tell you, when I first heard that, I admitted that it was true, but I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like being called out like that. Like, oh yeah, it just wasn't a priority, but it was so true. And so now whenever when I don't say, yeah, I didn't have time. No, we all have 168 hours in a week. I didn't prioritize time to get that done. And so it's really looking at, for all of us, like this season, it's making sure you stay the priority. What I want to know from you is, what is finishing strong and your commitment in that? What does that look like for you in this next week?
I think that for me, I think being more active on the Marco, it kind of haunts me at night sometimes. How I go to put my head to the pillow and I'm like, oh man, like, come on, kid, like just, get in there. It's been the challenge for me from the beginning, I think, is just, I don't know, just putting myself out there, even though I feel like we have Monday nights, I sometimes struggle with just the day-to-day Marco sharing. That's hard for me sometimes. So I think going strong in the end would be getting and really like telling everybody on the Marcos, getting more personal about it and the struggles I'm having, and the happiness I'm having as well, not just the struggles, but just being more real on there. And then also not waiting like 5,000 days to share the biggest transformation on Facebook. I'm so terrible at that. And I think about it so much. And then I do it like it airs on Wednesday and then I don't share it until like Saturday or Sunday. And so I think getting more on time for that.
Hey, okay, so what does finishing strong look like for me? One, my freaking water, and it ties in well with the video that we just watched, our takeaways. This was one of my takeaways. My water. I get my water in, but I literally don't touch it until lunchtime. Like the whole morning, I don't really mess with it at all. I drink my shake and it takes me pretty much all morning to drink my shake. And then I get my water and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dang, now I got to chug. And so I'm the one that's up all night going to the bathroom. So one of my takeaways was if I don't get my water in before my window, like obviously I have until midnight, but if I don't get it in before my window, no sushi for 6 months. That was the first thing I thought of when I was like, what is it that I can just like not have? So I was thinking about it and I saw a video like pop up on my Facebook and it was sushi and I was like, oh, that's the good one. So that is my takeaway for my water. And then the other one that I wrote down was Marco Polos. I watch all of them and I share my stuff in my head, but I don't actually send it. I'm like, oh, it's too late. I make an excuse not to share, like, oh, it's too late, or oh, it's not important, or it's too small, or whatever, and I don't end up sharing. And so that's one of the things that I need to work on. And it ties back into the whole I don't like being vulnerable type thing, but something I need to work on and get over.
One of my things is I've been good about getting my food and water in, but for me, finishing strong is going to be the selection of the food, because I tend to have like toast or something because I can have that slice of bread. So I'm going to work on that, and then also pushing myself harder on the exercises and choosing to do something, not that yoga is easy, but something that's more active, I guess, if that makes sense. To push myself.
Definitely posting. I am not a social media sharer. I actually hire someone to do all that. So I don't even think about it. So that I recommitted to this week, that Wednesday when it airs, I'll share. So it's done and it's in my timer on my phone. Because I don't normally get on these Instagrams and Facebook and all that. So the other thing is, just like Sheila was saying, in my particular workouts, the woman, I swear, thinks everything is a burpee or a plank, and that is the only thing you need to do to get in shape. And my lower back can't hold my lower end yet. So that has been a struggle and I'm pushing through those. So I committed to not changing the workout, but sticking to it and getting those done without modifying. So those are my two things this week.
I think I need to commit to getting my water in earlier because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 11 o'clock. I got to suck down 60 ounces of water. And so, I try to do that really fast. And like I said, at work, I have to proctor and I cannot leave that room. So I have to work my water around an exam. So that's a little struggle for me.
Finishing strong for me is making sure I get all my containers in. For the most part, I do, but not always. I may miss 1 or 2 containers before the before my window. I would like to up my exercise as far as adding more time in. Because I do commit to my workout, and I've always kind of pushed myself more than my normal. But I would like to, in other words, maybe like do 2 30-minute workouts or an hour workout. So I would like to up my time in exercising and checking in on Marco Polo more.
Hello. I think I have two. So you all know I've struggled with vegetables. And so I have been working on, because your takeaways, YouTube really pushed me like to analyze where am I weak, and it's on vegetables. So I have been working like this week to get more vegetables in each day. So like at least 2, which is huge for me. I wouldn't have done 2 in 5 months before. So this is like, you know, but like, I'm not just trying to get my weight down. I'm trying to be healthier. So you know, that's one of the things I've definitely got to work on. And so that's what I've focused on this week. That's part of my Finish Strong. The other part I think for me is mental, because I am struggling some like with the fear of what happens after this group. And so like, I don't want to, I'm one of these people that overanalyze everything. I mean, I'm an accountant, but like I get so caught up in the what if of the future that I start to mentally break down the now. And like, I just start getting like real nervous about it, you know, and like, how am I going to be able to maintain this? And, you know, I know some of y'all talked about your treats not tasting as good. And I'm like, mine still tastes really good. And what happens? I don't have this accountability anymore. And so I just, you know, the mental part for me is like, I want to make sure mentally I am there and I finish strong mentally, not just now, but in the next few months, that I can be prepared to keep this off, because I do not want to do this again. If that makes sense. But that's my other part, is the mind games.
Yeah.
Hey, so I look back on my tracker to see where I've been slacking. And I think I go through spurts where I'm like doing really well. And then where I mess up a lot of times is the water in the containers. I just don't get the water in like fully for the day. And it's kind of like what Jill and someone else was saying, where it's like, I'm doing so much in the morning, trying to get the shake in and all of that. And then I just start late. So getting it in sooner definitely helps, because there was one point where I was getting it in by 6, 7 o'clock. So I don't know exactly why there's such a big difference in timing and what is going on there, but it's something that I have to correct. And with the food, yeah, just not prioritizing. Sometimes that container just sits in the bag and I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat it. But yeah, those are the 2 things I have to work on. And one thing I have to say is like, your message today was like really timely, because I noticed that Thanksgiving Day, my Thanksgiving was Friday. So Thanksgiving Day, I was home all day cooking. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to start cooking, and didn't prioritize my workout early in the morning as soon as I got up. And that's something that I'm used to doing. And I came to the realization that I was like, I am not putting me first when I do stuff like that. And I have to put me first, even if it's just that one thing of just getting the workout in early in the morning. That's my time for me. And when I realized that, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I don't care what event is happening, what's going on. Like, I'm going to take the time for me just to, you know, get it done early.
Hello. So, you know, I gotta be honest, I'm bad at social media, so I will improve on that. And really the other thing is kind of the inconsistency, I guess, especially this last week of checking in. But what I really was just thinking about through all this was, I mean, what I really need to work on and continue to work on is like not getting discouraged with the mental aspect. Like I give the example, like I've spent 20 hours in my own bed this month. And I started a new medication that's side effect is weight gain. So how do I not get discouraged through all these things? You know what I mean? So that's what I got to continue improving upon, really is the main thing.
I need to work on gosh, a lot of areas probably. For me, the Marcos are still very difficult. I don't like being on the camera, and so I find myself not feeling like I'm very genuine. So I think continuing to try to get more comfortable speaking and being myself on camera would be a big challenge for me. And checking in more consistently, because I kind of faded out on that as well. I sometimes think I don't have a lot of good stuff to say, and so many people have such good things to say. So I feel a little bit like I need to really work on that area for sure. And then another area that I really need to work on is in the beginning, probably the first 8 weeks or so, I was super strong about spending a few minutes in the morning, just going over my stuff and reminding myself and staying kind of in the now. And then I would also do it at night, and I would reflect before I went to bed. I would be like, okay, you did this. This is great. This is this, and I haven't faded off of that. And I think it's, like you said, the excitement a little bit has changed, and you just get comfortable. And I think I'm in that gray zone of getting some comfortable things happening in areas that I need to improve on. So getting out of that zone will be good for me.
I think one thing I want to work on this week is getting through with my water earlier in the day. I've been drinking it where at one point I was doing it and finishing up before 6. And then I kind of slipped and started going, it would be 8:30 or 9. And I can tell a big difference when it was earlier in the day. And another thing to finish strong with this week is I'm going to go back to an hour a day instead of just 30 minutes of working out. I really, I feel better, I think, when I do 2 a days instead of just the 1 a day. The last couple of weeks we've been really busy, and I felt like I haven't had the time to do that because of the things that we had going on. But this week I'm going to focus more on me and go to bed earlier at night because I can tell I need the rest.
Tonight's call was super powerful. So I just want to say thank you, Carmen. It was very timely, and I feel like I've been talking about it all day. Been marketing back and forth with my mentor today, and I feel like it really just like comes down to like commitment issues. And so I feel like I need to improve in like all areas, but if I really like get down to like what have I been the weakest in, it would be planning. So like when I do plan and I do, set my mind to things, like I do obviously do really awesome. And so I've definitely fallen into the gray zone of like not always like measuring things. And for whatever reason, like I love vegetables, but I'm not like measuring them. So I'm just like, oh, that looks about like, that looks good. That's a 1 green cup or whatever. So I definitely need to get back to measuring things and making a plan for the day. Like I've just really fallen out of that in some areas. Like I'm still getting up early and doing my workout and weighing myself and, checking the boxes, but I'm not, like you said, as we started off really strong and excited, and now, some of that excitement has faded. And so it's just like choosing to be excited again and just choosing to plan really and stop making excuses for not planning. So those are the areas that I want to work on.
Good job. And I love hearing all of you guys, because listen, most people never focus on where they need to improve. They never do. They only focus on where they're strong. But we can never improve our lives if we don't focus on our weaknesses. Focusing on your weaknesses doesn't make you weak. It's actually, you know what makes you weak? Only looking at your strengths. And I love to study people in general. And one of the people we were studying, and I do this with my kids sometimes, we were looking at Kobe Bryant. And one of the things, we watched an interview with him, and one of the things he said is around 15 years old, there was a lot of really great basketball players. He said 12, 13, 14, 15. He said we all kind of had the thing that we were good at. He said the problem is all of my competitors, they were like really good at this and that's all they ever did. He said what I did, as he said, is on the off season at practice, I focused on my weaknesses. If I was weak on my left hand, I focused on my left hand. If I was weak at my jump shot, I worked harder on my jump shot. He said, so before long, all these other guys had one really good strength and a bunch of weaknesses. He goes, because I never focused on my strengths and I worked to develop my weaknesses, I wound up being so much better than everybody else. He said that after all, there was no he said there ended up being hardly any competition because I always worked on my weaknesses. I always worked on my weaknesses. We like to watch UFC, and one of the champions, he always, after every single fight, he looks at his fight and he looks at where did I do good? And even if he wins, where can I improve? And this is something most of us are not taught, unfortunately. We live in a participation ribbon society where everybody gets whatever, and that's just unfortunately not how the world works. It's just not how the world works. And so I think it takes a lot of intention for us to really look deep and say, okay, where can I improve? Because that's truly how we live our best life. That's truly how we live a life that we get to the end of and we would want to live again. That's truly how we get to the end of our life and we don't have a long list of regrets of things we wished we would have done. You don't get there by only looking at what you're strong at. You're strong at what you're strong at. What you're strong at has led you to exactly where you're at. If you want to get beyond that, we need to shore up some of those weaknesses. And so proud of you guys for looking at that. And as we come into this last week, next week's the final. Next week we're gonna crown a winner of phase 1. And this last week, it's about leaving it all on the table, giving it 100%, like all out, not like just making it a priority, just making it that, no, I'm gonna choose to finish strong by choice, not by chance.